So the Guilty Gear Strive beta is over, and this is probably the last beta we're gonna get since the game comes out next month. And it really doesn't. So here's the thing: this game is getting a lot of mixed opinions right now, and I don't really think it has a lot of. It's the arguments are kind of back and forth, and I feel like no one's really done a good job in hammering in why there's so much back and forth. It seems like there's a battle between the guys trying to accept the game for what it is versus guys who want the game to be better. But the issue is that the guys who want the game to be better and more fun are alluding the game to what the old game used to be, and obviously it's really hard to not do something like that because this game is old. The series is old, so people expect the game to play similarly to what the old game used to play like. But what we're going to do here is instead we're going to look at the game objectively, and we're going to look at it as its own thing, as if Guilty Gear has never existed before. That way we can at least come to something, that's not going to make everyone feel razzled, because it seems like the number one cop-out to any kind of negativity towards this game is, oh, well, these boomers, these guys just can't get over how these things are changing. But that's not really what it is. This game actually, it doesn't feel complete right now, but it's a beta, so there's no telling. Anyway, we're gonna just talk about it the way I like talking about it. I like just talking about freeform. I had a script written for like the first time ever, and after reading the script and then reading it out loud to myself, I was like, I don't talk like this. This is not me. So I just balled the script up through the fucking trash. But anyway, so I've seen people say good things about it, seen some bad things about it. This game, there's a lot of good things about it. So we're gonna talk about the obvious good things. This game looks amazing. The beta looks amazing. The effects look amazing. The characters look amazing. It just looks great. It really looks great. And really, they did a really good job in designing the characters. Like, the redesigns look really, really cool. Like, I don't think anyone's going to complain about the redesigns. Unless someone really likes the older designs. But the newer designs look really, 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 really good. And honestly, that's really the best part of the game, is that artistically it looks amazing. And I got no complaints about that. Maybe the only thing I can say is that the backgrounds look kind of washed out, and they don't look as appealing as the older Guilty Gear backgrounds. But I don't really think that's a problem with this game, only because of another problem. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Another good thing about this game is the net play. The net play is pretty fucking perfect, and I can't really describe the feeling of being able to play someone and not have to worry about everything. Normally, you can't really play people unless circumstances are perfect, but this is going to be the first fighting game I've played seriously that has net play that actually works in a way that is conducive to competition. But the good news is that this is probably going to help other companies. I think if other companies see this, other Japanese companies specifically see this, and they see that, hey, wait, people are buying the game because people can play it, then maybe that'll spread out to other companies. So I'm glad. Big ups to Arxis for finally making their games playable. It took a long time, but it's better late than never, I suppose. And then better for this game. Obviously, this is the game this is their flagship game, and I'm glad they did for this. That's really about it, though. I don't really have too many positive things to say about this game. The net play is very good. The art is amazing. But here's where we get to the meat of the game. Here is there's so much else about this game that doesn't feel good or look good. Just look at the honestly, the UI. It feels like that's low hanging fruit. The UI is clearly ugly as fuck. And it's not appealing to anybody. I don't know anyone that sees this UI and thinks it's amazing or appealing. It's super boring. It really clashes with the game in every capacity. Look at this UI. Just look at it. It's just so boring. It's crazy that this is how the game I don't know who decided that menu and the health bars and all the other bars were supposed to look like this, because the menu looks soulless, and so does the UI, and so does the health bars and everything. And I don't know why they made that decision to go this way. It's like a modern, it's like they slapped this really bland modern take on these really classic expressive characters with cool designs. It's such a weird decision for them to make, and it's pretty shit, but I guess it's something that can change. I mean, it's not unheard of for games to change their UI as the passing versions come through. The only other, the UI is not really the worst thing though. Well, honestly, one of the worst parts about this game is actually the net play experience, which is crazy. It's not even like the net play. I already said it before, the actual net code is great. It's flawless almost. But the issue is that the circumstances in which we have to play in, which is the park and the ranked lobby, they're terrible. It's like adding 4 extra steps to something that takes only like 2 steps. The people who play fighting games only want to queue and play somebody, or find a lobby with multiple people, maybe like 5 or 6 people, and then have everyone play each other so they can spectate or play each other. The park is everything against that. It adds more time to find matches, and it also is cumbersome to navigate. And then ranked is some gimmicky bullshit that no one wants to go through. They'll probably, I'm pretty sure that people are going to play the ranked lobby, get to 10, and then just pack it up. Same with the park. I think the park will probably be abandoned very quickly. The issue is that the main issue with this statement I'm making here is that the player lobbies were not open during the beta. So it's really hard to say just how good the player lobbies are. But if the player lobbies are anything but what we saw, then it's an improvement. Because anything is better than those lobbies that we had to play in. It's because we can't even spectate in those lobbies at all. I'm really surprised they didn't open the player lobbies, but I'm also not surprised because they probably wanted us to try out those shitty lobbies so they can get opinions on them. But the design is flawed by default, so there's nothing they can do to make us want to enjoy that. There's nothing they can do. It's shit from the start. So there's nothing to build upon there. There's nothing they can do to make those things enjoyable for us. This is all waste of time. It's all extra steps. So just give us the regular shit. Obviously the worst part is we can queue quick match in player in our training mode, but it'll put us in that shitty lobby, or if it gives us a rank match, it'll put us in the lobby with a back out and go back to training mode again. So I don't know what their obsession is with this lobby. It's not really fun for anyone, and even regular people, I say regular people, even the average consumer does not want to deal with that. Most people just want to hit a button and then play. I can attest to this because I've been playing more normal, casual-based games, and most people just want to hit the queue and then wait for the queue to pop and then play. So this is just more work for nothing. This game's problems don't really end with just that. One of my biggest pet peeves with this game right now is the camera work with this game is not appealing at all. The camera shaking for every little reason possible is very obnoxious, and it's kind of nauseating at times. The cinematic angles it tends to take is it tries to shoot you up. It's almost like you're getting launched. Almost everything cinematic in this game is like launching someone. So it's constantly moving around and trying to follow what the hell's going on. Actually, one of the glitches in the game that were found in the beta, I think it was found in the past beta as well, is that the camera doesn't know how to follow these fucking guys after trying to manipulate the camera 2 or 3 times while after activating the dust, and it will not the character will just never return to the ground because the camera doesn't know how to follow or place them back on, and it's pretty ugly. It's not fun. I'm a big, that's obviously, this is the boomer take though, because I'm against any cinematic anything. I prefer the game to be quick, and any moment where the camera takes over and forces a view is a moment that you're not playing the game, because it is taking the game out of your hands in order to force you to watch something. And it's actually another The camera isn't 100% related to this, but it kind of is. But the intro being as long, it's kind of the same subject in the sense that I say people don't want to, it wastes your time. And you really feel it because I can't believe they made it so that people don't want to watch their character intros. The character intros are so long that maybe after the first couple days, you probably won't ever let the intro run ever again. Or you'll never find another person plus you that will let the intros run unless you're both eating a sandwich. The intros take so long. You have to watch the hawk fly in, the background drop, your characters both walk in, you both don't say anything, you do default poses, then you do the default intros on each other. And after all that time has passed, it's probably been about a minute. It's probably been a minute and 10 seconds. And it just takes so long for something that should only take about 10 seconds. It should only take 10 seconds to do a character intro. The characters just walk in, say the shit, and do that, or explode in, or whatever Guilty Gear thing happens. You know, whatever the character's specialty is, they do the thing, they flex, and then they get in. They don't need to. I don't need to see how much like background there is. They spend a lot of time on like spinning the fucking camera around and focusing on a bunch of bullshit, and then finally we can fight. We have to get an intro. We gotta get a fucking monologue from the announcer. It just takes too long, and it sucks because these intros, some of the intros are pretty cool, but we're after a day or two, it's definitely we're never gonna see them again. It's too much waiting for nothing. It's too much waiting for nothing at all. Honestly, I feel like it's weird I haven't mentioned the gameplay at all up until this point, but it's because the gameplay isn't really terrible. It's just underwhelming. For a game that has really high damage and all these insane effects, everything feels really sluggish. Like I can't really put my finger on it, but well, I mean, I went and tested it myself. I went to test Ino's movement versus her older movement, and I wanted to see why I felt like I was in sludge, and it just turns out that everything just has a ton of frames added to it. Every movement option either has more startup or more end frames, and I remember seeing a video of Soul Bad Guy doing a dash, and then someone was like, "Look, the dash is the same frames as the old dash. Y'all are just complaining about nothing." Well, it feels like shit. It doesn't matter if the frames are identical. It feels like shit because of that startup they added at the beginning. If the frames are identical, then why the fuck do we have the startup in it at all? It doesn't make any sense to. Some of these changes are deliberately made to allow people to react in order to make things feel less oppressive. But this game should feel oppressive. It's supposed to be high damage and fun. Like I thought this game was supposed to. If the game design is clashed, the game design is clashed between trying to be fair to newer players and trying to kill someone into his. And it makes it so that it's sluggish but big, and not in a good way. Everyone feels big, but not in a good way. So a good comparison would be like Samurai Showdown, right? How high damage, but Samurai Showdown doesn't feel sluggish. It just has a slow pace because the damage is high, and the options are risky. But this game, the options aren't risky. It's just slow. Everybody's slower than they should be, and the damage is still high. So everything you want to do, it just takes longer to do, just because they don't want to all in. They don't want to all in the offense because I guess they don't want Jimmy to get fucked in two seconds. But they really should just embrace the design because they would have a really good game here. I think that's really what the disappointing feeling is that this game could be really, really good. But it feels really scared of itself. It feels too scared of itself to be what it should be, which is high octane, big damage. And some way or another, they found this boring middle ground where nothing feels fun. And I guess a good comparison is that Soul Bad Guy doesn't feel this way. He feels fast and fun. Well, he feels slow still, but he still feels better and more high octane than everyone else. And he feels the strongest because of it. And it doesn't really it just feels like, everyone should be Soul Bad Guy. But in the end, I can't help but feel that they're going to just nerf Soul Bad Guy, and then everyone's just going to feel like trash. It would be better if they would try to, if they really want this way to be this way, if they really want this game to be this way, they need to be free. They need to go ham and let it rock, because if they trying to contain, trying to make a high damage game and try to hide it behind slow movement when you have air dashes, it just makes for like and low combo pathing. It just makes for a really underwhelming game design, and it doesn't stand out. The best way to explain it, this game really feels like a diet version of everything I've ever played, and it's not really fun, essentially. Because if it feels like a diet version of everything I've ever played, then I might as well go play the other games. But it's not all doom and gloom in the gameplay. It's not terrible. It's that it's just boring. And but there is one thing. There is one thing I like. And the one thing I do like is that there's no comeback mechanic. It's really crazy because throughout the years, almost all these new fighting games have, I won't name a couple. Y'all know the ones. A lot of these fighting games, in order to facilitate a casual environment in terms of like, hey, you can make a comeback too. They just throw in a second bar that you get for getting your ass whooped. But this game doesn't have that. It just seems like if you lose, you're going to lose, which is great. I love that. No more of that second meter bullshit. It's good for two reasons. One, this shit sucks anyway. Gameplay wise, having a fucking comeback bar is trash. It doesn't enhance anything. It just makes the game fucking trash. But the second part that's good about it is that you can actually make your own comebacks and feel good about yourself, legitimately. Because any comeback you make, if you're down to like 10% and they have full health and you make the whole fucking comeback happen, that's good on you, man. That's all you. You did everything. You made that comeback happy. You didn't need the game to give you a fucking bar that made you plus by default that you didn't earn. This game is savage. If you get fucked at the start, you will not get bar. Like you are in a tight scenario. So if you can make that comeback, you get to pat yourself on the back, and it's hype. It's super exciting. Seeing comebacks from turning red and then doing some shit is not hype. Seeing people come back with nothing and making something happen is hype. And this game, there were a lot of times, I will say, that even though I didn't really enjoy playing it, I will say that I got pretty excited when I made the comebacks happen. And I had not had that happen in a long time. The feeling had escaped me. But in this game, I felt that shit. I felt like, hey, I did that. That was me. I made this shit happen. And it felt great. So at the very least, even though the game's current design is very underwhelming and like diet of everything, the feeling of making a comeback is definitely in there. And I can see that being addicting. I can see that happening. Making a big comeback from making a big damage combo from a scenario where you shouldn't have been able to make a win. Now that feels good. But this game also has another problem where I think their way of adding a comeback bar was to make the wall break. But the issue is that since you give the guy who broke the wall meter, then he's definitely going to be ridiculous after the wall break. But having to reset neutral over and over again is really annoying. Having to reset neutral after landing a super, having to reset it back to having to reset it back mid-screen after a super, having to reset back to mid-screen after doing a dust, having to reset mid-screen after doing a wall combo. It's really, it gets old quick, because in your head you're like, this match should just be over by now. But I had to break the wall, and now he gets another chance to come back. Luckily, this game is pretty punishing. So if you lose and it's pretty savage and you don't have bar, odds are you're still going to lose, because now the other guy has even more bar and he's going to fuck you up, which is another change. I would hope that they would make a change to this is going to sound really crazy, but I think the game would be better off 25% meter to spend a Roman cancel. And you gotta hear me out here. If it was 25% meter to spend on a Roman cancel, it would allow the funnest moment in the game to happen more often. Because really, the most fun you have during this game, as it is now, is when you spend bar on a Roman cancel. And defensively, it's also better because then you get 25% meter to do a YRC as well. So it seems like the path the game should take, in my opinion, is that they either need to let the game be free and make the game fast instead of adding sludge to everybody's movement, or lower the bar requirement so that we can get to the part where we're actually having a good time. Because right now, the meterless, the game is boring and whack and slow and nothing is fun. But when you have bar, a lot of things are going on. Things are popping. A lot of options are opening up. I think 25% meter on the Roman cancel is the way to go. But in the end, this beta was, I would say if you like fighting games and you just want to try something different, you should. I think this game's a good way to put your foot into this. Obviously you're not going to lose anything. You can guarantee. The best thing here I can say is that you can guarantee that when you get this game, you can play your friend online with no problem. And that is something that most fighting games cannot say. Getting just on that basis alone, you don't really have much to lose, especially if you're a fighting game fanatic. But if you're expecting a really, really crazy experience that unlike no other, then I wouldn't expect much. I would say you could expect average, and then just take solace in knowing that the story mode will definitely be a complete story mode, and you can play online with your friends. And if the game gets better later on, then you'll be there for it. All we can do is hope that maybe the game later on will receive changes to the gameplay styles that will allow it to kind of become something more fun and original. This game could very easily be a really fun game, because this game is so close to being like a more fun Darkstalkers to me, but it's just held back by cowardice, it feels like. I know that's such a strong statement to make, call them cowards, but it feels like cowardice. It feels like, well, we don't want people to feel bad, and this is not the Guilty Gear I want. I want the Guilty Gear to be reached to everybody, so we're gonna dial it back. They need to go all in, and that way there's more extremes. That way we have fun, because right now it's just bland white bread. But that's all I really got to say about the beta. It was, I would say I will still say it's worth buying, just for the fact that you can play it, and you can play it, and you can play your friends, and you get a story mode, and the tutorial may be more comprehensive of the mission mode. This game does a pretty decent job of teaching you how to play. But those are my thoughts. And I know it sounds like I'm just shitting all over this game, but it's more like I see a lot of potential in the gameplay, and I just can't help but feel that they are too afraid. Or not that they're too afraid, but they're too concerned with people who are going to quit regardless if they win or lose. People who are going to lose and then never play again. They need to just make it as fun as possible for the people who will play the game and enjoy it as much as possible. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, that may not even be the reason why. They may just like the game to be fucking bland milquetoast, and that it has nothing to do with people feeling bad or feeling overwhelmed. It just has everything to do with them just liking that. So I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out. If the game is completely different in like 3 iterations, then that just means that they were just too afraid of people getting whacked. But if it's still milquetoast in 3 iterations or whatever, then that was just what they wanted.